Boker Tov, we are continuing in the daily shiur of Shir HaShirim. We are in Perek Chet, Pasuk Tet, just a few psukim until we complete this milestone. Im chomahi nivnei aleha tirat kasevim deleti natzur aleha luach arez. So remember that last pasuk, Hashem is talking to the malachim, and he's saying that Bnei Yisrael is achot ketana, is a small young daughter, and she's not ready to be brought the Mashiach and the Beit HaMikdash, etc. What are we going to do by Yom Shedu? What are we going to do to try to get her to that point? And now Hashem is continuing to say, Im chomahi, if she's strong like a wall, a very strong thing, I will build nivnei alea tirat kasef. I will build on her a tirat is a battlement. What's a battlement? You know, like you see in the castles, they have like the top is like a nice, like a rigid top, like on the top of a wall. That was for wars or whatever. So those in between was where they were able to shoot from. So this is something that I could build upon to defend. This is something strong. I will build a beautiful one of silver. V'imdeleti, but if she's like a door, and the doors back in the day were like a swinging door. It could go both ways. So that's something that's very weak. A swinging door, you could just push her over, go in, out. V'imdeleti natzur aleh luach arez. We will put on it a plank, a luach, a plank of wood to close the door. So what Rashi over here says, it's referring to is looking at Bnei Yisrael. Im chomahi, if they're strong, and actually Rashi says with Yirat Shamayim, with Emunah, and also very, very strong, that there's no assimilation. And if they're very, very strong, then nivnei alei tirat kasef. We could build on it a future, we could build and bring the Beit HaMikdash. V'imdeleti, from the word dal is poor, if they're delit and they're very flimsy. You can move these Jews around like a door, open door, this way, that way, this way. They go with this, they do that. We could try doing something. We'll put a luach aretz, we'll put a plank of wood in front of it, but wood is something, unlike stone, like a tirat kesef or a silver, that wood is something with time, even the worms could get through and it could rot the whole entrance. So saying that if they're flimsy, we'll do a patch-up job, but it's not going to be enough. But we'll see what we could do to stop them so that they could get strong again. In order to hopefully get them to that point. And then that's when Videsha answers the next pasuk for tomorrow. Ani choma. I'm a choma. I'm not a delit. Ani choma. V'shadai kamigdalot. I'm very strong, etc. So that's for tomorrow. Sefer, the Arizal over here says, Tirat is the gematria keter, crown. Tirat kesef, this is something that I could build upon. Or to give him a crown. And delit from the word dal, something poor. The Sefer Rokeach over here says that luach arez is a cedar, and our enemies were also compared to cedar. That this plank that Hashem is going to bring is enemies to wake us up to do teshuvah. It's going to look bad, and then we're going to do teshuvah. So He wants us to get strong. And Sancheriv was the one that also spread us in the different the 10 tribes, etc. He was compared to Erez, and also Haman HaRasha. He built a cedar of 50 amot to hang Mordechai on. Things look really bad. Imagine the Jews seeing that. They're like, okay, we're done. Our leader they want to hang on, etc. And then we did teshuvah. But these are throughout our history. Hashem brings us luach arez to try to patch up the situation, to hopefully get us to do teshuvah. And he says here the words Aleha tirat kasef is the gematria zehi Beit HaMikdash. Tirat kasef is this embattlement, the silver stronghold Hashem will build on us as the Beit HaMikdash. The Gaon of Vilna over here has a very interesting explanation, and he says that the delit and the choma is compared to two types of Talmidei Chachamim, and he says as follows. He says there's one Talmid Chacham that sits and learns Torah in his own home and does not have students in his own home because he's afraid that if he goes out to the streets he might be influenced by the goyim, etc. And he's very, very afraid of that. So he stays at home and he learns Torah that way. Or there's another Talmid Chacham that he's strong enough and he feels strong enough that he could go out and he could teach and he could learn and he could go out to the public and he still won't get affected. He feels strong enough like that. And he says that's a stronger level, the second one. So he says that's the comparison to the choma, the one is very, very strong, and he feels strong enough that he could, and he produces talmidim, etc., that we could build upon. Whereas the guy that stays at home, that he's afraid if he's going to go out, that's like the delit that we need to patch up and build him up. Now, it's a very interesting pirush right here in the middle of the thickness, because until now he's talking about the zechut of the Bet HaMikdash coming and the Mashiach coming. So maybe this is a mention of Talmidei Chachamim to try going out and doing kiruv and bringing. And the story goes actually of the Gaon Mevilna that he hired a rabbi, the Dubno Magi, the famous rabbi that lived at his time, would always bring mashalim. He hired him for what? To rebuke him. As a great rabbi, people are going to say, "Oh, your rabbi is so good, everything's so good," but he wants to make sure that that he wants to improve himself. So how does he improve himself? He hired another rabbi to say, "What do you see wrong in me? Rebuke me, rebuke me." And one of the rebukes, which could maybe fit into this pirush, is that the rabbi told him, he said, about the Gaon of Vilna, you're sitting at home all day learning Torah, and he became the Gaon, and you're very, very great, but remember that you're not dealing with people. He wasn't necessarily the rabbi, you weren't really dealing with people, and you weren't really dealing with the outside, and therefore, when you see others that are not as learned, but they're trying to help others, etc., they might not be as learned as you, but they're out there trying to help. And you were just really at home, and that was a musar that he took and started from there to expand a little bit more on the outside. And actually, just comparing to a last of our Torah, we say, Tzaddik katamar yifrach ke'erez, there's erez as well. And erez in this pasuk is secondary, even though it's a strong cedar, but it's not like the Tirat Kazef. Tzaddik katamar yifrach. The tzaddik is compared to a date tree, a palm tree, and also to a cedar tree. But the palm tree is first. The difference between a palm tree and a cedar tree is a very, very, very strong tree. A palm tree is very weak, very, very thin and weak. The difference, though, is that the palm tree has fruits. The cedar tree doesn't have fruits. So too, connected to this also, the cedar tree is very, very strong. That's like a Tamid Chacham that sits in his house. He's very, very, very strong, but he has no fruits. He's no Talmidim. He doesn't spread the Torah. So he's very, very strong, but he's on his own. Whereas the tzaddik, that's maybe a palm tree. He's much skinnier. He's much flimsier. Right? He doesn't have as much, but he has the fruits that are the Talmidim, that are the students, that is, etc. That's why the tzaddik is compared first to the Tamar, the ideal one, and then to the Erez, like Avraham Avinu that went out to the people, as opposed to, everybody asks about Shem and Ever. Yaakov Avinu went to learn in the yeshiva of Shem and Ever. Shem, the son of Noach, and Ever. So why were they not like the Avot? Because Shem and Ever were like monks, so to speak, where they sat in their own thing. They didn't spread to the world. They just sat and learned just there. They didn't go out to the people. As opposed to Avraham, he was one to spread Hashem's word, etc. So that's, and Bezrat Hashem, when we spread the Torah, and we said this yesterday with the matzah and Pesach, that we said between Yechan and Arvil, I'll just mention quickly, the middle matzah, compared to Bnei Israel, we break the middle matzah. And the bigger piece we put away, and the smaller piece we keep. Usually, you would think the bigger piece, that's what we want to keep. Why are we putting that away? Why are we hiding that? The bigger piece, if it's compared to the majority of Bnei Israel who are not connected, unfortunately. So what do we have to do during the Seder? We have to find it and bring it back to the table and bring it back to the Seder. And then we could say, L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. So Bezrat Hashem, the karev the Yehudim, to the Torah and the Mitzvot, and the Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'Amen. Rabbi Yochanan ben Akasha omer, Atzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zakot, K'et Zafir HaChib Adam Torah Moshe Ne'emar, Adonai Chafetz Man Tzidko Yagdil Torah ve'Yadir.